Good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. We are in book 3, chapter 9, which is Law of Equality. We did last week, we did natural equality, and in inequality of aptitudes. We're going to start today on question 806, social inequality. Philip.
Is the inequality of social conditions a law of nature? No. It is created by human beings, not God. Will this inequality eventually vanish? Only God's laws are eternal. Have you not noticed that it is being steadily erased every day? Your present inequalities will vanish with the disappearance of pride and selfishness. The only inequality that will remain is that of merit. A day will come when the members of God's family will no longer view themselves as more or less pure. They will know that it is only the spirit that is more or less pure, and that this is in no way related to social standing.
Okay, so inequality of social conditions, it's a law created by human beings, right? Because God's law is perfect, and inequality of social conditions is not perfect. So, of course, it was not created by God, it was created by humans as they developed. And then the question will eventually vanish. Again, as we move towards perfection, the inequalities will begin to disappear slowly but surely. It is part of the law of progress, the reduction of inequalities. And the Spirit tells us very clearly that when we are able to overcome pride and selfishness, which are the two main obstacles for our progress, we are going to achieve the equality, in the relative equality, because again, until we become perfected spirits, there will be inequality amongst spirits, but not inequality in society. Of course, some of them will be more intellectually evolved than others, some of them will be more morally evolved than others, but when all spirits are already in the more advanced stages of evolution, let's say when they are happy spirits, there will be no more issues of injustices. There will be inequality, as they say here, only the spirit that is more or less pure, and that's no way related to social standing. So that's very important. We will live equally with different abilities and doing different things, and we'll see more later on the economic equality. But as the law of progress, the inequalities will gradually diminish. And we have just to look around and to see more advanced countries, the countries that are most advanced in the world, which are, the countries in Northern Europe. The highest salary is 8 to 10 times higher than the lowest salary. Here in the United States, you can imagine how much, and in other countries, even less evolved, developed, not evolved, developed, it grows more and more. So we are all evolving. So we will eventually move towards this equality in terms of, it's not going to be communism, that everybody gets paid the same, but it will be a just inequality, right? In terms of very small differences between the highest and the lowest salaries, and allowing everybody to live comfortably, within the limits of the society. So we're going to get there, but it's going to take some time, many, many, many incarnations. Okay.
I think the sentence, the only inequality that will remain is that of merit. That's a very important thing. Not a social differentiation that makes one be poor, that one be middle class, that one be rich, but of merit, the one that put greater effort will receive the compensation for putting greater effort in acquiring anything, education, profession, in any field, sports, in any field. The one that applies the most will have a greater merit.
But that will not cause jealousy.
That will not cause social jealousy.
Yeah, that will cause only recognition, right?
And it's a matter of choice as well.
Yeah. Yeah. If all conditions are normal, right, in terms of evolution, we are living in a society that respects the others' rights and everything. Yes, and of course, the merit will be according to each development, but in a sense, not really very different in terms of.
No, it's going to be even less than one to 8.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if you look today, right, those that truly understand how we are supposed to live in society, let's say you work in a job that you are happy with your work, and there is someone there that does a better job than you on your field, we already have many people that recognize this and accept the reality, right? Not everybody needs to be the top boss, right? And not everybody wants to be the top boss. And so we see this, a little bit of this here and there, still far from being widespread, but we already can see signs, right? Okay.
807. What should we think of those who abuse the superiority of their social standing to oppress the weak for profit? They deserve to be condemned. Their fate will be miserable because they will in turn be oppressed, and they will be reborn into an existence where they will suffer all that they have caused others to suffer.
Again, law of cause and consequence. Those that abuse of their social status, abuse their power, will face the consequences. And the consequences, again, it's not that an eye for an eye, because God's law is not of punishment, is of justice and of love. So they will face the consequences according to what they did, and according to the damage they have done to others. They will, as the Spirit says, they will be reborn in an existence where they will suffer all that they have caused others to suffer. Meaning, they will face difficult conditions, maybe very difficult conditions, that will not allow them to abuse their status or their situations. What you see, again, normally what happens with these individuals, they are maybe reborn if they abuse their social status as very, powerful and rich. They are going to be born with no power and no wealth. And you see them revolting against their situation is a characteristic of a spirit that is still struggling to accept their reality, right? They are going to fight against their status, and sometimes end up being criminals, right? Sometimes you have these individuals that end up being criminals because they cannot live with their challenges and difficulties. Okay.
808, economic inequality. Is economic inequality a result of the inequality of faculties, which gives some individuals more means of acquiring wealth than others? Yes and no. What about fraud and robbery? What do you say about them? Is inherited wealth not the fruit of evil passions? How do you know that? Trace their source, and you will see whether it is pure or not. How do you know whether they were earned by plundering or the fruit of an injustice? Regardless of their origin, do you think that pining for wealth, even when honestly acquired, is admirable? This is what God judges, and divine justice is often more severe than that of human beings.
Okay. So when I talk about economic inequality, which is a subject that we just have to look around and we see it very everywhere, right? It's very interesting because Kardec as the spirits is a result of inequality of faculties, and the spirit says yes or no, right? Because some people become rich with their abilities according to their abilities and how society rewards these abilities, because you can be excel in an area which is not very rewarded by society, and then you are not going to become rich. And you can be very capable on an area that pays a lot, and you are going to become very wealthy. Those that are capable of dealing well in finances have the opportunity to become very rich. If you are a good writer and you have a good chance, you can become very rich again. But there are many others that are good writers but do not have the opportunities. So this is the part where the inequality of faculties make a difference on what you acquire. But also, as the spirit says here, there is also fraud and robbery, which is, very common, unfortunately, and results in people becoming rich. And sometimes they pass this wealth to their heirs, and that's the second question, right? Is inherited wealth not the fruit of evil passions? It can be, but the Spirit says, how do you know that, right? We have to be careful here with the intention, the origin, the way it was acquired, and it's very important. If you inherit wealth, what you do with it is much more important than if it came from fraud and robbery. And again, there are many wealthy individuals in the world that they inherited wealth from great grandfathers or grandfathers that were thieves, common thieves or sophisticated thieves. And then they were able to, the heirs were able to grow their fortune and become very rich and powerful. But again, we cannot keep going back to where our wealth comes from and start, throwing away the money just because our ancestors committed fraud or robbed. It's much more important to use well the wealth we acquire, to use to help others, because that's how we are going to be judged by our own conscience, right? This is when they say this is what God judges, and divine judgment is often more severe than of human being. It talks about our own conscience that is going to be the ones that are going to judge us and makes us face the consequences of our actions, positive or negative. When we talk about consequences, we have two sides, positive consequences and the negative consequences. Okay? And again, another one of fortune that we talked a little bit.
809. If a fortune has been obtained illegally or fraudulently, are those who subsequently inherit it held accountable? They are in no way responsible for the wrong that may have been done by others and of which they may not even be aware. Often, fortune is granted to specific individuals for the sole purpose of giving them the opportunity of making amends for an injustice. If these individuals understand this, good for them. If these individuals do it in the name of the person who committed the injustice, the reparation will be counted for both of them, because it is often the latter who, now in the spiritual world, has stimulated the incarnate ones to work towards this reparation.
When we inherit here, right? We inherit a fortune or some money, right? Again, the important thing is what we do with it. Now, not how it came to us. We are born with guidelines, with blueprints of what we are supposed to do in our lives. And part of it may be to receive money to see how we deal with the money that we're going to receive, the wealth, because we didn't have the opportunity before, and this is a trial we need. Maybe we had the opportunity and didn't do it quite well, but not bad. So we have an opportunity to continue doing this work, because if you have the opportunity and you're completely wasted, it's difficult for you to have the opportunity again before learning the other side. Eventually, we will come back to have the opportunity again to see if we learn what to do with this opportunity. But they bring here a concept of the spirits, the individuals who abused their physical life to accumulate wealth, that they may be in the spiritual world repenting and trying to influence their heirs to use it to help those that are in need. So this is what they say when the reparation will be counted to both of them. If the individuals that are incarnated use it for the benefit of those in need, and the ones that are inspiring them also need to do this reparation, it will count to both of them. That's what the spirits are saying here. Okay?
810. Without breaking the law, we can dispose of our assets more or less equitably. Are we accountable for the use we have made of it after we die? Every action bears fruit. The fruit of good deeds is sweet, while that of others is always bitter. Never forget that.
Yeah. Again, the question here is when we have assets, how we are going to dispose of it. Are we accountable for the use we have made? And the answer is yes, we are. Every action bears fruit. What we did is going to generate consequences for others. And so if we did good deeds, we are going to bear good fruits, right? So what do they mean here? Let's say you have money to leave for your heirs, and you have here in this country that you can divide however you want, live or not live, right? and you have one of your hairs, that it's not good, that is going to abuse whatever you leave to him or her. It's going to be wasted. You can make the choice only of leave less or not leave anything or leave something that is controlled, right? Or you have one hair that is very good in helping others in building on their wealth and providing assistance to others. So you leave more to this individual so they can use it because you know that they are going to be used in a better way. That's how we are going to see the actions bearing fruits, right? I I had an aunt that she didn't have much, but she had something. But she was not married. She didn't have any direct heirs. The only heirs she had was nephews and nieces, and she didn't do a will. She said, "I don't want to do a will. I want to see you guys fight when I go to the other side." So. In this case, right? What is her responsibility? It's limited because she decided that all of them are going to receive in equal parts because that's how it works, and then you're going to live with it, right? So it's not positive for her, but it's not negative. It's neutral, right? I always thought it was very interesting.
So basically, there are countries with legislations that limits the responsibility of the person who dies because it's pretty much pre-established what each one will get.
Yeah,
good or bad.
Here in this country, it's not. It's free. But in Brazil, for instance, you leave 50% for your wife or husband, and 25% for your kids, and 25% you can dispose. If you are in a regular marriage with kids, even if you want to make choices, you can only make choices on the 25%. But in this country, no, you can do whatever you want. That's why there's so many movies that you watch with the fights on inheritance and things like that.
Leave everything for the cat.
Yeah, leave everything for the cat, like already.
Sleep.
The Helmsley, yeah.
Right. She left everything to her pets, no?
To her pets, yes. Yeah. Which is, again, it's her responsibility because what happens in this case, of course, it's not going to the cats or dogs or cats. It's going somewhere, right? So if she had left everything to charity, right? I was reading about the owner of this team that is playing the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks. He was one of the founders of Microsoft, right? Paul Allen. He didn't have any heirs. He left everything for charity. He has an executor of his will, which is dispose of his assets in an orderly fashion, meaning not in a rush. Continue to take care of them and dispose of them in a rational way, giving everything to charity, which is, this is what this guy is going to receive in the spiritual world is a reward for what he did here in terms of charity. He was very wealthy. Not all wealthy people are bad. There are wealthy people that know how to use their wealth. There are those that don't, unfortunately, and they'll have to face the consequences.
811.
Yeah.
Is absolute economic equality possible? Has it ever existed? No, it is not possible. The variety of faculties and personalities makes it impossible. There are those who believe that it is the remedy for all the problems of society. What do you think of that? Anyone who believes that is either motivated by both ambition and jealousy or is responsible for the creation of systems. They do not understand that the equality they dream of is quickly decimated by the circumstances of life. Fight selfishness because that is the plague of your society, and do not chase after pipe dreams.
Yeah, interesting, right? Karl Marx appeared right after this. He should have read this question, right? Because he tried to create equality by force. Again, equality by just distribution of wealth is the target and the objective of good society. But equality by force doesn't happen. Like they say here, it's not possible. The variety of faculties and personalities makes it impossible. And that's why communism failed and continues to fail, right? What you have in China nowadays, people say it's communism. It's not really communism. It's a capitalist society under a dictatorship, right? So there is a lot of advancements in China. They are doing a lot of good things there, but you cannot say it's communism. It was communist in the times of Mao Zedong and the continuation, but nowadays it's really capitalism with a authoritarian, very authoritarian regime. Cuba is communist, and it's a failed country, unfortunately, right? It's a country that doesn't get out of this their own way, right? North Korea is the same, right? North Korea is a society of two classes, right? The government and the rest suffers miserably, right? You compare North Korea with South Korea, same origin. 70 years later, South Korea is one of the most advanced countries in the world. North Korea, one of the most um, backwards countries in the world, right? It doesn't work. It's when you try to impose, it doesn't work. You have to target equality, economic equality. Yes, it has to be the objective, but you cannot force it because we have our free will. We have different abilities. We have different faculties and personalities. So it's not possible. Again, we're going to go towards that, but it has to be natural. It cannot be forced. That famous phrase that capitalism is the worst regime that exists, but they haven't invented anything better yet. It's funny, but it's real, right? It's not great. There is a lot of problems with it, but unfortunately, they haven't found a better solution yet. We will, because the law of progress. We just studied that. But until then, we should try to do things that work better than others, even if they're imperfect. Okay.
812.
Yeah.
If economic equality is not possible, is equal well being also impossible? No, but well being is relative, and everyone can enjoy it if people can reach a good understanding among themselves. For true well being entails devoting one's time according to one's inclination and not in work for which one has no liking. And since everyone has different abilities and talents, no worthwhile work is left undone. Balance exists in everything, yet humans seem intent to disturb it. Is it possible for human beings to reach a mutual understanding? They will arrive at it when they practice the law of justice.
Equal well-being is possible, and the spirits here tells us exactly when it will happen. When everyone works according to their own inclination and everyone is rewarded in a fair way, right? Not in an equal way, but in a fair way. So if you are, let's say, if you are a musician and not a pop star, a musician that plays an instrument and and plays in an orchestra, you are going to be paid well enough to live decently. You are a teacher, you are going to be paid much more than teachers are paid nowadays in this country, right? Because their responsibility is very important. So they are going to be paid decently, much more closer to the financial market individuals than the difference today. So when everything can work on their own inclination, so you will have no one doing what they don't like. Sounds like utopia? Yes. Is it achievable? That's the objective. That's where we need to get to, right? So if you love to paint, you are going to paint. If you love to work with any scientific subject, you work with a scientific subject. We work on research. You work on anything that should be decently rewarded and allow you to live a normal life. Now, this society won't have people that are desperate to get richer and richer, right? Because you reach a level of comfort, of understanding of who we are and what we are doing here, that you are going to work on what you like and devote your free time to help and assist others that are less favorable than you, but everybody will be living in a decent society. Of course, we are not perfect spirits. We won't be perfect spirits there because perfect spirits no longer incarnate, only when they need. But so we will still have differences, but the differences will be much smaller. When we are going to reach that? When we practice the law of justice according to the natural law, not the law of justice according to human justice, but the law of justice according to God's law.
So last year, I heard on BBC an interview the day after that Finland was elected for the seventh straight time, the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
They pick up a woman on the street for the interview and ask, why do you think that is? And the woman said, well, first of all, we find amazing ourselves that you find us with the happiest people in the world. You don't see that. But when we look around, we can see that, yes, we are a step above. And I think that what makes it is that we chose that everyone will be well, even if it requires some sacrifice. We chose that. We would rather have a little less so that everybody can have equal. And they're the happiest people in the world when they made that choice.
And you see, right, one of the most developed countries in the world, right? I think it's Finland that the richest person makes 8 times more than the...
It's 1 to 8.
Yeah, 1 to 8. So, and again, 1 to 8 is too big, right?
Right.
Someone...
Yeah, it's capitalism. We can invest your money, you can do your things.
Yeah.
But there is a system that's making sure that everybody is well.
Yeah, you have free healthcare, you have free school, you have all the abilities are given to you for you to use it to your benefit. But then you have the free will. What are you going to do with all of that? Some people are going to do better than others. And some people are there's still crime in Finland. It's almost non-existent, but there is, right? Some people make the wrong choices. Still, even there, right?
Yeah, and there is no jealousy. I mean, there will be a percentage. There will be a percentage who you leave the country, they cannot live in that environment because it's not for them.
Yeah.
I had a patient from Finland that was challenging the idea that people in Finland are happy. exactly because of it. Because he feels that government takes too much from the ones who work hard and distribute to others. So you see that there's selfishness right there.
Yeah.
Individuals like that, what they do? They leave the country or they are miserable living there.
Yeah. Yeah, we are in perfect spirits. Even though all those in Finland are in perfect spirits still, more evolved than the average, but still in perfect spirits, still have our imperfections, right? Pride, jealousy, you have all those things, right?
But there is no absolute equality.
No.
There will never be.
No. Only when we reach perfected spirit. But even perfect spirits, right? When we were talk about the Christs of the world, right? You have the governor of the solar system that is above the governor of Earth, right? So there is a difference there. For us, it's impossible to understand, but there is. Okay.
8:13. There are those who fall into poverty and misery through no fault other than their own. Is society responsible in such cases? Yes, we have already said that society is often the primary cause of such failures. Besides, society is responsible for providing the moral education of all its members. Society often warps its judgment through poor education instead of correcting their malicious inclinations.
Yeah, so this is what we were just discussing, right? There are those who fall into poverty and misery through no fault other than their own. Yes, we have people that are mentally unstable, right? We have several mental diseases that makes people detach themselves from reality and end up in these difficult conditions. Or there are people that are just lazy, right? That are comfortable in living at the expense of others, or collecting the social security checks and living with them. It's a characteristic still of an imperfect society, but the responsibility of us as society is to educate. We have to have good moral education for all of its members. When we have this moral education and a decent preparation of all the individuals, and also providing treatment for those that need treatment, we are going to reduce a lot those that fall in poverty and misery. But unfortunately, we are still not there and far from there, right? So we need to have institutions to take care of these people that fall into poverty and misery. But yes, it is society's responsibility. We haven't found a way yet to make those that do not want to do anything have some responsibility on their own choices. But we need to find also that comes also with, because we're trying to provide assistance to everyone, and we end up having some those that abuse these privileges. So we will need to find a way to balance these cases. But again, it's part of the learning and the law of progress that we go through. Okay.
8:14. Why has God given wealth and power to some and poverty to others, to try them in different ways? What is more, as you know, it is the spirits themselves who select their trials, which they often fail.
Yes. What is missing there is many times, as you know, is the spirits themselves. It's not like general, because many spirits come without making their choices. They don't have the ability to make those choices. So we have wealth and power because these are, that's the way the world works, and that's the way that we evolve, right? Is through distribution of wealth to make the world progress, to allow the developments to happen. So the concentration of wealth allows those that are able to distribute the wealth wisely to help the world progress. And of course, because we are imperfect spirits and on average, we are lazy. That's the reality. If we had everything given to us, we wouldn't make any effort. So we need still to be challenged to make an effort to progress, to make an effort to go after the resources to subside. That's why we have people that still are born in poverty, so they have an opportunity to learn from resignation, humility, to work hard. These are opportunities that many of us fail in taking advantage, and some of us take advantage of that, and we get out of poverty and reach wealth. More common nowadays than at the time of Kardec, because at that time you were born poor, you die poor. You were born rich. Most of the times you die rich, right? Some people lost their fortunes, but most of the time you inherited and die rich. Nowadays you have a movement, classes larger than at that time, but still, it's still necessary for us at our stage of evolution to have wealthy and and poor people as a way of us learning how to help each other and be charitable to each other. Revolve.
815.
Yeah.
What trials should human beings dread the most, wealth or poverty? They are equally dangerous. Poverty inspires complaints against providence, while wealth stimulates all kinds of excesses.
So, what are we supposed to learn, being wealthy or being poor, right? Of course, the extreme cases are the most dangerous ones, because excessive poverty causes a lot of difficulties, because the spirit, the incarnate person, has no time to think of anything else besides surviving, besides looking for the next meal, look for how they're going to find shelter. So it is a big challenge. A lot of us imperfect spirits will spend our lives when we are in poverty complaining against providence, complaining against God. It's God's injustice. Why am I poor and the others are rich? And we may end up, that's when they say dangerous, in a life of crime or trying to take advantage of others. On the other side, the very wealthy people, you have all the temptations that comes with wealth, which is to abuse your things in your life, right? To abuse of others, to waste in useless excesses. So it's very challenging, because what you are supposed to do if you are wealthy is to preserve, distribute, and help. And unfortunately, very few people are capable of doing that. So that's where wealth is also something that most of us, when we are very wealthy, we fail. But not all of us, as I just gave the example of this individual that discarnated, Paul Allen, that left all his wealth to charity. But always the extremes are always hard, right? When you are not rich but not poor, you have enough to live, etc. It's where you are supposed to be more in peace with yourself. But even with that, many people still complain, still struggle to accept. We are, as imperfect spirits, we struggle to be happy with our own situations. It's a characteristic of human beings. Okay?
State 16.
Yeah.
While rich people have more temptations to do evil, do they also have more means of doing good? That is precisely what they do not always do. They often become selfish, proud, and greedy. Their wants increase with their fortunes, and they never think they have enough, even for themselves. Elevation in this world and authority over our fellow beings are trials that are just as difficult as those of misfortune are. The richer and more powerful we are, the more obligations we have to fulfill. The greater our means of doing both good and evil. God tries poor people by submission, and the rich by the use they make of their wealth and power. Wealth and power breed all the passions that bind us to matter and keep us from reaching spiritual perfection. This is why Jesus said, "It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for one who is rich to enter the kingdom of God."
Okay. So that's what we've been discussing, right? Rich people often become selfish, proud, and greedy, and think about their fortunes and how to increase their fortunes, and trying to compete with other rich people to show that they have more than others, and it becomes they become immersed in their own greed and cannot think of the rest, can only think of themselves. Kardec says here, the richer and more powerful we are, the more obligations we have to fulfill, and the greater our means of doing both good and evil. So it is important for those that have the ability to help others, they have the moral obligation to do so. They have their fortune acquired by means of their own work or inheritance. And actually, the Spirit says that those that inherited are less responsible than those that became rich through their own effort, because those that became rich through their own merit knows what's to be on the other side, so they have more responsibility. Those that inherited were born this way, so they don't have the experience of the other side. Again, they have the responsibility, but they have less responsibility, which is a very interesting thing, right? You would think it would be the other way around, right? Because those that achieve their fortune through their own merits, you think normally that they should be more entitled to keep their money. But in reality, the Spirit tells us it's the other way around. When Jesus says it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for one who is rich to enter the kingdom of God, first, the eye of a needle is not exactly the eye of a needle, according to those that interpret the gospel. It was some mountains that existed there that was called the needle, and that was a very difficult passage to go through. So it was very difficult for the camels to go through the passage. So that's why Jesus used this phrase. This phrase was misinterpreted, especially by the Catholic Church, which they, in the way that they try to promote poverty as a blessing way of being, which is, again, it's the misinterpretation of the teachings of Jesus, because Jesus never said anything like that. Jesus just said, love one another, and our responsibility towards one another. Love one another, love others as much as you love yourself. And if you do that, you are going to take care of others the same way you take care of yourself. So it is there in Jesus' teachings. Our responsibility is there. It's clear. And of course, as imperfect spirits, we are far from achieving that, and we are far from being able to use it. And again, what we see a lot of rich people that donate the excess that they have, which is good, it's great. But the real teaching of Jesus was in the example of the widow's mite, right? In which she gave of what she didn't have. So she gave everything that she had and more. That's the real sacrifice, according to Jesus' teachings, because you're giving of what you have in excess. Yes, it's your responsibility, but it's nothing more than your obligation. It's not something out of the ordinary. It's your obligation. Now, giving of what you need, that's the moral elevation there. Okay? Okay, I think we're going to stop here because equal rights for men and women are a very interesting subject that deserves our attention, full attention for next week. Again, equal rights for men and women, nowadays, it seems obvious, it seems logical. In 1857, there was no such a thing. Women have no right, or according to some in the church, women have no soul. So I think it's worth for us to spend some time talking about these equal rights for men and women, and we'll leave it for next week. Okay? So this what we have this weekend. On Saturday, we have a talk by Yasuko Arakawa, Plurality of Inhabited Worlds, Homes for Spirits to Evolve. This is Saturday at 11 a.m. On Sunday, we have the study of the book Jesus in the Home. We are almost finishing it. But I think we still have a couple of months more on the book. Okay. And I think that's all for us. The book club, yes. The book club for next week, chapter 3 of the book Arduous Ascension by Victor Hugo and Divaldo Franco. Okay. Carol, can you do our final prayer, please?
Yes, thank you so much, John and Elmo. Thank you very much as well, Philip, for reading for us today. And thank you, everybody, for being here and participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks to be together for studies of the Spirit's Book, Chapter 9, Law of Equality. The topics being social and economic inequality. Only God's laws are eternal. Social conditions are not perfect. Gradually, the inequalities will lessen and gradually disappear. When spirits are pure and not dependent on social standing, we will move closer to equality and economic balance. The law of cause and consequence is in play along the way if status and oppression is abusive. Intention and sources of wealth are positive if it's used to do good in society and for those who are in need. Balance exists in everything, and well-being can occur through pursuing talents and inclinations. Society should provide the moral and educational opportunities to ensure progress. We must, however, endeavor to make successful use of these opportunities. Extreme wealth and poverty are both big challenges. Pride, selfishness, and greed can be traps for those who are the imperfect spirits. That be us. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all of our participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. And may we remind ourselves now as we go forth to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.